Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Good day. Thank you for participating and your kind contribution in this international conference on research in business and management. Let me share with you by presenting our paper as follows. Allow me uploading the share screen. Yeah. Our presentation regarding the enterprise management as a pathway in enhancing the organization performance and efficacy. This is a case study of an Indonesian public service organization written by myself and my other colleagues Teviadi Norimana, Victory Wokawu, and Kevin Bastian Sirai. Today, on the 6th of August, we are broadcasting from Budapest, Hungary, for the audience all over the world. The agenda consisting of introduction, literature review, methodology, finding and discussion, and then lastly, my conclusion. Let me start with the introduction. As we all understand, the paradigm and the role of enterprise management, or shortly ERM, are essential for any organization. The significance and importance of ERM have become more apparently since this is highly interdependent by nature. Any organization with an adequate level of performance, efficacy, and understanding in ERM is more susceptible to get caught by sudden changes that occur within its environment and more vulnerable to the event that can harm its value financially or non-financially or else. Especially for the public service organization or PSO shortly, in particular, their capability in managing risk is crucial to ensure the output they produce can serve and fulfill the public interest. Implementing effective ERM, therefore, within the PSOs can further enhance the performance and efficacy of its service delivery, and at the same time, be a tool for accountability, as quoted from the Palermo, written in 2014. Furthermore, the importance of the PSOs and their relationship with the public have resulted in the ERM paradigm and mechanism being urgently needed in their activities. Adopting the ERM framework within the public sector is now a necessity due to the role of risk management within the respective sector that tends to focus solely on accountability, with the greater emphasis on transparency, involvement, proportionally, evidence, and responsibility instead of the strategic and processual risk management, as listed by Mahama et al. In 2020. Moreover, one particular Indonesia, as our case study, adopted the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO 31000 standard as their reference in managing the risks effectively. However, the respective PSO could not deal with them as expected, as they also faced some other problems that made them fail to achieve their performance objectives. In this case, we also noted that the coronavirus disease outbreak in early 2020 put more weight on the PSO to have a more effective ERM starting by early 2021 onward, and that executive had decided to conduct a risk management maturity assessment to understand the current level and map out the route to obtain a higher level of risk management maturity at the later stage. This case study then supported by literature review as follows. ERM, risk management maturity, and organization performance. That's the way we divide the discussion. Now, from a different perspective, the organization characteristics also determine the efficacy, performance, and capabilities level of each risk management initiative and conduct. Some of the essential characteristics of an organization concerning the ERM implementation are the organization size, the type of industry, the institutional ownership, and the organization's origin, as proposed by Bonnet et al., written in 2017, and supported by Gordon et al. In 2009. Since every organization has a different ERM activity level, the term risk management maturity describes then the degree of their risk management integration and implementation. Therefore, it can be concluded that when an organization has low risk management maturity, its ERM program will not be as powerful as expected, enhancing its value, both operationally and financially. And at the same time, they are at risk of not being able to ensure their stability within a complex and highly competitive environment. Further, despite many views on what constitutes an ERM, there are three consensus in regard to the matter. Namely, 1. ERM manages risk as a portfolio rather than individual. Second, ERM handles not only traditional risk, seperti accident, but also consolidate strategic risk within the organization decision-making process. And third, the nature of ERM focuses not only on mitigating risk, but also on gaining a competitive advantage, as quoted from Bromley et al., written 2015. Now, move to the other literature. Some studies written by Arena et al. 2010 and Fisher et al. 2015, as well as Russell and Simpkin 2016, and Noko and Schultz 2006. They said that those studies show that some insight on which an organization can apply to increase its performance and efficacy through ERM. By one, communicating the risk that exists within its environment to its stakeholder. Second, by aggregating the common risks across its business segment. Third, by becoming adaptive to the changes. Fourth, by achieving active participation among the board members. And fifth, by seeing the role of the ERM beyond compliance tasks. Now, another review showed that the role of risk manager within the PSO is not much different from a private organization. However, the fundamental difference between these two lies in two aspects, namely, 1, the range and variety of stakeholders, and second, the extent of the organization decision impact on the political and social dimension, as quoted from Speaking 2014. In some cases, implementing risk management within a public organization is more complicated than the private organization due to the existence of 7 challenges within the public sector. And they are: 1, the separation between the operating and program budget. Second, the unavailability of clear risk metric. Third, complicated procedural requirements. 4, narrow mindset of risk. 5th, senior officers who lack knowledge on risk management and business. 6, frequent changes and vacancies of leadership position. And 7, goals that nullify other considerations, as quoted from Brake et al. 2011. Now, move to the other review about risk management in PSOs. Despite the complexity in implementing risk management in public sector, many PSO and government institutions, even though, have adopted and integrated the ERM mechanism within their activities. For instance, following the finding of Collier and Wood, written in 2011, legislation primarily drives the risk management practice and implementation within the United Kingdom and Australian local authorities, which contribute to the enhancement in managing the resource dependencies of the two respective local authorities through the inclusion of external monitoring. If you look at in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration applies risk management to identify and assess the potential risks that reside within medical product after it is made available to the public. This is written from Hardy 2010. The ERM formalization within the PSO is expected to at least the same as a private organization, since the professional organization can support the PSOs in developing its ERM system and mechanism. Furthermore, the consequence from the risk of failure within the contact PSO can be much greater than the private organization. Now we look at another angle of literature review, i.e. in this case the ISO 31000 risk management guideline, or we all know as the ISO 31000, where actually we must see then in total architecture their principles, their framework, and their process. In here, we use all the ISO 31000 and all the literature review in order to build up our questionnaire and also the interview. In this case, our methodology then carrying out qualitatively by using those two tools, whereby in the questionnaire, we actually address the questionnaire to the 24 heads of headquarter division and 26 heads of regional office across all the country of Indonesia. And in the interview, we interviewed the whole head of headquarter and 3 heads of regional office. Then, we use the ERM ISO 31000 Risk Management Maturity Model, or ERM3, which provides 5 maturity levels based on 6 attributes, 22 indicators, 52 parameters, and 168 factors. So then if we look at this table, we can see that actually there are 5 levels: initial, repeatable, define, manage, and optimize. So then how do we see it? The assessment is actually on the 6 attributes: risk culture, risk management framework, risk management process itself, performance management, and resilience and sustainability. Where actually the ERM score, we got it from the value of indicator of each attribute. If we look at this level of maturity, as I have already mentioned, then it can be initial, where it means that risk management is still ad hoc, reflects on individual initiative, or repeatable, means risk management start systematically implemented, define, risk management has been implemented systematically, and consistently practiced as per ISO 31000 standard risk management. Now, then the level 4, we call it as manage. It means that risk management has been integrated with organizational governance and organizational management systematically and consistently practiced as per ISO 31000 risk management guideline. The last on at the optimized level. It means that risk management is integral part of organizational governance and organizational management, systematically and consistently practiced as per ISO 31000 risk management guideline. As I have already mentioned, it covers 6 attributes. Then the resulting, then whether it is completely fulfilled, partially fulfilled, or not fulfilled, that will determine further about the maturity level. All in all, the finding and discussion then show the result. The ERM maturity assessment on that particular PSO in Indonesia show that this is the web here, showing that look here, the score of each attribute giving quite differently one to another that I'm going to touch later on. But in this case, overall saying that the risk management practice is not integrated yet with organizational governance and management. This result is in line with the result of the maturity assessment, which produced the maturity level at initial stage, i.e. score at 1.96 within from 0 to 5 scale. This value is the result of the respective score aggregation of 6 attributes as seen in figure 1 that I had mentioned earlier. If we see, I'm not going to go very detailed one by one. If we see that the ERM score showing that the risk management framework, the score is 234. There are some positive indicator and evidence from the study, but we also find some shortcoming of the VSO ERM, its root causes and implication. That also similarly on the risk management process attribute, where the score is 2.38. Same, there are some positive indicators, but also there are some shortcomings. If you look at another two attributes, the risk management process is called 250, and the attribute performance management 2.08. Lastly, if we see the risk culture, resilience, and sustainability, respectively, it shows that 1.26 the score and 1.20 the score. So then, as I have already mentioned, so then basically the overall is 1.96 out of the point from the scale 0 to 5. Then the last of the case study, as a part of finding discussion, we are trying to produce solution for improving the ERM maturity for such particular PSO. In here is there are 5. 1, suggesting them to complete the integration of ERM process into all organizational business process activities. Second, strengthening the risk governance based on the 3 lines model to work effectively and efficiently. Third, developing an early warning system based on the KRI or key risk indicator as leading indicator toward the accomplishment of the KPI or key performance indicator. Upon having KRI in place, we may hope that obstacle in accomplishing KPI could be detected as early as possible. Hence, the probability of successful performance is increased. Fourth, adopting a risk-based sustainability approach. Henceforth, with the implementation of a relevant management system for its consistent effectiveness. As such, it is recommended that the organization adopt and implement ISO 22301 Business Continuity Management System Standard as complement to the ISO 21000. Last is strengthening risk culture that foster people in the organization internalize and managing the downside risk as well as the upside risk, i.e. not only protecting value but also creating value. Conclusion. Before, the study concludes that higher effectiveness of ERM as embodied in a higher maturity level will be expected to improve the organization performance and efficacy. A higher maturity level means a higher capacity and capability to increase the probability of an organization in accomplishing the organization's goal and objective, i.e. better performance than otherwise. Further, the study also shows how the current practices of ERM in a large PSOs are conducted and how a roadmap is built upon the gap and then proposed to increase the ERM maturity level. The roadmap does not only recognize the issues and challenges that may face organizations to increase the ERM maturity level from the current base of 1.96 to 4.00 within 4 years, but it also provides some recommendation steps which could be used as empirical insight into how ERM is implemented as a pathway enhancing the organization performance and efficacy. So this is a combination of case study that can be used for other organizations, like PSO or other organizations, to learn from this case study and figure out what is the lesson to learn. I finish my presentation and I do hope there is a kind of benefit, a positive benefit from this presentation. Thank you so much for the audience. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Good day, stay healthy amid the COVID-19. Thank you.